Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where today I want to give you some really useful Lightroom tips, and I'm going to talk about one specific tool that I think everybody, regardless of whether you're a beginner, intermediate or professional photographer, I think everybody needs to be using this tool in their landscape photos. So if you are new to the channel, my name is Chris Harvey. I'm a landscape and commercial photographer and I'm a Lightroom editor. I do most of my editing in Lightroom, and there's been a few really cool updates to Lightroom in the last few months, and it's really helped me when it comes to adding a lot of drama, a lot of interest, specifically to skies in images. There are a couple of editing tips that I think will be invaluable to you because we're not always blessed with those epic skies, those amazing conditions where we have so much mood and so much drama, but thanks to Lightroom we can now start to inject some of that drama ourselves in post. So let's jump into Lightroom. I've got a few images from Scotland that I'm going to use to demonstrate this, and I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is. So let's start off by looking at this iconic shot of the shipwrecks on the Isle of Mull in the Hebrides. Now, this has been photographed time and time again, and on this particular day, it wasn't necessarily the best conditions. It was shot probably around lunchtime. It was fairly overcast and there was some texture in the cloud, but I felt like the raw file didn't quite have the level of drama that I was hoping for. So I used a couple of Lightroom tools to help create that effect. So if I just turn on the edit that I've put onto this sky, you'll see how much more drama that adds, and the texture within the sky now matches the texture within some of the foreground and within some of that kind of rustic wood of the shipwrecks. And this is really, really easy to do. So let me just turn this off and I will create a new mask to kind of show you my workflow for this. So all I've done is I've gone on my right hand panel here and I've just clicked on this mask button and I'm going to create a new mask. Now there are a couple of ways that you can do this and it all depends on your composition and your image, so I'm going to touch on the various different scenarios in this video. But the simplest way to do it is just to use the AI technology within Lightroom, and it's not cheating, don't worry. And I'm just going to go select sky because that should do a pretty good job of only selecting the sky portions of the image. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do some adjustments to kind of add that drama and that punch to the sky. So the best thing to do first of all is just to drop the exposure. That's going to bring back any highlight detail that we've lost as a result of exposing this image. We can also help that further just by reducing the highlights. And what I like to do is I also like to drop the blacks within my sky because the darker portions of the clouds are just going to become a bit more contrasty and it's going to be a little bit more localized. It's not going to apply the contrast to the whole of the sky, it's just going to impact the darker areas. Now we can also use the tone curve to do this, so if we wanted to we could just plot a couple of points and we're going to be just choosing the shadow information or the darker portions of the image and we can start to drop that further. You'll see if I do that, it adds some of that contrast in, but you do have to be careful with this not to go a little bit too far. You still want it to look real, or at least I do, that's my just editing preference. Some people like to go, you know, over and above with their edits. That's fine, that's your creative choice. Below the tone curve, we also have this dehaze slider. Now, I think adding some dehaze is another great way to just cut through any glare, any haze within the sky, just to give you a bit more detail. And what we can also do, if we wanted to have that stormy impression, is we can also drop the color temperature of the sky to make it a little bit more blue. Adding some cold tones into the sky really does help create that sense of drama, that sense of moodiness. Again, it's completely dependent on the image as to whether you would want to do that, but anything that's kind of like around water, seascapes, adding some blue just helps create a nice balance and harmony with maybe the color of the water or the color of the sea. So the second image shot in Glencoe is another example of when you would use this tool. Now in this particular shot, the dynamic range was a little bit tricky on that particular morning because the valley itself was quite dark because it was in shadow and it was quite early, but the sky, because the clouds were so white, were just creating like this big softbox and it was quite bright in the cloud layer. So trying to get that balance was quite tricky. So I prioritized exposing for the midtones, and because of that, I lost some of the detail in the clouds. But using this technique, we can bring some of that back. So all I've done is, again, the same, created a mask, selected the sky, and I'm going to turn the mask on now. And it really shows you how much detail there is in your images that you have potentially lost. It's very, very important, I think, to address your skies and to always have a bit of a look into what's there and whether you want to retain that. Now, what you can also do with your skies is try to tonally match them with the other colors or the other elements of your frame. So in this one of this valley, the overwhelming color tone is green because of all of the foliage. So when you're adding maybe a little bit of blue just to add that drama, it's nice to use the tint slider just to make sure that you're pushing the tonal elements of the sky towards green a little bit more as opposed to towards purple, because you notice if I push it towards purple, there's an imbalance there, whereas if you push it more towards green, it kind of cements itself and it's more harmonious with the other elements of the photograph. So again, it's important to pay attention to the color as well as the contrast or exposure of your skies. So I hope you found those tips useful. I think it's definitely important, especially on, very overcast or cloudy days. There's definitely a lot of interest and drama that can be pulled from those skies just by incorporating a few tools and simple tweaks from Lightroom. So if you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell to get notified of when new videos go live, which is every Thursday at around 5 p.m. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you found this helpful. And I will see you all in the next one.